Let's start again, from the very beginning of this story. The exact year is 2039, and the young man's name is Julian Nacca. In Florence, time is the enemy of life and art, and today from the facades that once offered what the new technologies and big shopping centers forcibly replaced, comes a time where stories from another era speak with Julian daily. His art lessons, personal hard work and inspiration are whispered stories from haunted times throughout history, when Renaissance and conspiracy illuminated the world. Every time that he follows Florence Street's crowd on his way to the city's main market, he always feels mesmerized by all of its ancient monuments and architectures. The many different closed brick and mortar stores that have their appearance now replaced with old paintings that hide ruins and keep out all of their godly and hellish spirit are his today's infinite mind array that is full of detailed visions from Catholic roots that flourish in all of the greatest works that are still present in the great region of Tuscany. From its many glorified artists' prestige that consistently scream throughout time and preserve jobs, and that are shared in almost a perfect harmony, art that can still be traced and dismantled by their many sketches and ruins. Every single day, behind one unseen sky, the sun gun that is one orbital weapon that makes the utilization of a concave mirror mounted on a satellite to focus the malign sun rays away from the Earth. The sun gun is one heliobeam that was constructed by German scientists a few years ago as a protection against the extreme heat and the malicious UV rays that are caused by the Earth's global warming. Sun gun started its life cycle in the summer of 2033. Every day now there are also many drones that take care of the sky's humidity, while other security drones also fight crime, emergency issues like fires, transportation accidents, etc. This effective recent kind of security also available in all major cities around the globe were all invented at about the same time as the sun gun orbital weapon, and all of them have been declared a success since they were launched. But now with all the news and the reported rid virus crisis, terrible news, scientists are starting to have many second thoughts. Maybe new upgrades are a few of its many possibilities. On that beautiful and majestically summer day when he met Alicia in the most unusual afternoon of the year at the local bookstore, Julian could not stop from wondering and noticing on how cultures were shaping entire civilizations. He really enjoyed walking all over the city, and that day he was required to know a different skill for a new job that he had to start. This new skill was described in detailed knowledge that was only found in the artist's books and their biographies, so there he went like he usually did to the nearest local bookstore. Alicia was the gorgeous girl at the bookstore register, and as he enters through the door and looks at her, a blown sound score hit him, like if a faith tuner the inspiration of a Destiny's melody that was coming from a deep abyss. The most beautiful young woman he had ever seen, and the musical notes pumping blood throughout his crushed-hearted brain, and her beautiful long curly honey-colored hair, and her latest latex fashion clothes, molding her amazing fit body that was shaped like a classic double bass violin, and as he approached her by the register a familiar perfume invites him. It was a sweet jasmine fragrance, the scent of enchantment, a magic that was only found in Egyptian goddesses, and when she spoke the music kept swinging, and her eyes fiercely blazed his mind and pierced his soul, as if he was now trapped inside Alexandria's library, in another time perhaps, or another dimension, maybe just in a dream from far beyond. Caro mio caro, again she reaches at him. Oh sorry, do you speak English? Said Julian, waking up from this enchanted dream. Sure, can I help you? She replied. Yes, I am searching for a good Leonardo da Vinci inventions book. He asks. Well, we suggest you one from 1988, a Marco Cianci Leonardo da Vinci's Machines editorial. I can order it now in English to suit your needs, and it should arrive here by early next week. She replies enthusiastically. Great. I live and work close by. It's actually been already a couple of months, and I've never seen you here. Have you just started working here at Mr. Stegata's bookstore? No, he's my father. I just graduated my master's degree from Scuola Superior Sant'Anna in Pisa, and I just returned back home. In a pure smile she responds. What's your name? He asks timidly. Alicia Stegata. In a secure reply she answers. Oh yes, let's order that book, Alicia. You must have my costumer's file in store already. My name is Julian Nacca. Can you please call me as soon as it arrives? As she searches for his costumer's file, Julian, perturbed, quickly signs off with a controversial goodbye. At the very next crossroad outside the bookstore, he stops and looks at the sky and thinks to himself, what in hell I have just done. Here I am with 27 years old, and I am still acting like an early schoolboy. Oh my, she surely was a time bomb, but there's no need to act like a scary chicken. What am I afraid of? She's just a beautiful woman, maybe the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in love. As he walks back home looking back to the Market's Plaza entrance that is already a few blocks away, a loud noise from a drone collision against a street plaque casts his attention. Piazza della Signoria. It was the name of the most famous location in Florence, and the drone was now nowhere to be seen again. Awkwardly, his mind starts spinning, stuck in time as he recaptures all the previous dumb moments of that day. At home he spends his night totally bonkers. He's in love with the most beautiful girl in the world. On that very next sunny morning after waking up, he takes a deep breath of fresh air as he opens his bedroom window, and in a glorious blue sky day with many birds whispering melodies of a fabulous time, Julian happily stood there, still reminding him of how beautiful it can be, a world without past nor future. For Julian existed only the present moment, where life's infinite spells casted the most beautiful and chaotic universe's waves that majestically unfolded our space-time. At that same time as he wakes up on the radio, the American news alerted him about this new virus crisis. It was the radiation infection disease. Julian's inner voice reminded him of a deja vu cycle. Again, another human curse that was transforming the planet with its progressive chaotic universe's laws. Outside, crossing at his street door, is a strange skilled rider on one electric dirt bike as he flips his powerful electric motorcycle against a bent cypress tree that is across the road, as he raises his right arm waving at Julian in a victory gesture and quickly vanishes away, leaving only a huge dust cloud path on his way, dust particles that slowly fall upon all of the road's obstacles like snow. Flashing is the Saturday's last alarm tune that starts to chime and reminds him that it's 9 o'clock and that he must get ready to visit the Capelli for lunch. His desires add up by the day, and on every news station the alarming virus plague display the chaotic universe's law that is here to stay. Julian's parents always make occasional hologram calls, but now that they seem really worried, they are calling him all day long. To the call spectators, it looks like as if ghosts are following him all day long. On his morning walk to the boss's house for lunch, he notices on how the bike's previous huge dust path was now completely settled. It was covering all of his street's asphalt and cars that were parked along the way. He starts writing and drawing funny messages on the asphalt's dust, funny messages of hope towards the new epidemic virus crisis. At the boss's house for lunch that Julian was previously invited, he finds out about this new virus crisis pills that cost 119.95 federal coins for a weekly safety kit supply that supposedly are the only pills available at the moment that will save your life. These safety kits unfortunately weren't yet currently available in Italy, but they were already being sold in the USA. The stock was still short, and only the wealthiest families were being supplied due to its urgent demand. Of course, its sales were at higher costs, but Julian's boss was suggesting that he urgently visits his parents in America and brings with him as many kits as it's possible on his way back to Florence. Mr. Capelli repeatedly said that the safety kit was in a serious demand and that he was not willing to miss it out. The lunch was not as delicious as every other Saturday. Hey, surely, regarding all the unpleasant news, what would one expect? But Julian still didn't stop from enjoying the boss's wife, typical Tuscany's recipe. This time they had a pappardelle dish that was made of a wide flat pasta involved in a hair sauce, and of course, it was accompanied of an also local stupendous red wine bottle of Brunello di Montalcino to heat up the lunch conversations that sparked up their honest, friendly mood. "Enjoy, my son, you never know when it will be your last," said Antonio Capelli, smiling and curling up his Salvador Dali-style mustache. "Surely I'm boss," Julian replied. "Please treat me as your friend, or as a family member if you prefer. You know that I've been like your uncle since the day you were born, hasn't your father taught you that, boy?" Antonio replies with a provocative question. "Come on now, Coppa, you know I am just teasing with you. What could I ask more from life than one uncle like you? You already know that I have manners, and I will always separate business and our work from my family and friends. I really love to be with you all, and it doesn't really matter if I am your employee or if I am your friend. I will always treat and respect you and Mrs. Fiona Capelli, always and as necessary, but only, and you know, simply regarding each of the circumstances," replies Julian, cracking a stupid smile. "Joke nonsense. Stop it now, guys. The Brunello," replies Mrs. Fiona with one hiccup smile. Huge smiles and laughs are always shared every time and at every meal at the Capelli's family gatherings. Such a nice couple, everyone could only imagine what it would be if they could have kids of their own. Unfortunately or fortunately, life throws at you a board, and when you play by the rules things start forming a pattern. Julian's buzzed mind started to remind him of Alicia, and at the really same time the radiation infection disease, a bad crisis that was infesting the world's population. His parents rejoice, and the will of having them back in their much-missed home in Florence was a Julian's family dream, and the capitalists were also only now starting to get accommodated in Italy. From a hard extraordinary 2 years' new beginning, foundations were starting to settle, and Julian's parents could now greatly think about a close future's Florence retirement. In the city, the security drones started to be seen more often, and the city's security was now starting to be really compromised. More people were now arriving to live in Tuscany, and the regional daily news were hitting at mostly two things: the rid virus crisis and the city's renaissance tourism economy. Returning to America froze Julian's mind and gave him a weird and strange uncomfortable fear, bad emotions that were starting to curl up his spine. It was late now in the afternoon, and Julian also needed to start thinking on preparing for future's munitions. It was now time to walk back home. On his way back home, Julian's parents' hologram call advised him on how he should remain calm and that everything was going to be just fine, that their UV rid kit was already mailed and 260 supplies were on their way to fully supply 5 people. It was supply for a full year. The Capelli supply was a share of 13,000 federal coins that would be ready to fly back to Europe with Julian. The Nacca were already thrilled about his return back home to New York. In Florence, when he's arriving by his neighborhood, Ian starts to notice that his street was clean and that his jokes and messages were no longer visible. All of the enormous layers of settled dust were now gone. At that same time, one loud V8 motor starts to rumble in a familiar compass sound that starts to deeply beat down at his heart, and it was pounding closer real hard, like if everything was connected with him. Memories of his lovely offspring days. Julian stops walking and hopes that the car passes by him. That unmistaken exhaust note was too much fun to miss it, and if he knew where it was coming from, he was definitely going to run towards it. Suddenly a continuous loud tire screech is coming his way. His heart starts pounding even harder, and on the horizon sky, one enormous cloud of smoke starts to darken its horizon, and in just over 2 seconds, what it looks like a light gray colored 66 Chevy Nova Super Sport flies by. The thought of what in the hell was going on these last couple of days got Julian a stupid face, and all of it made no sense. Was it just his memories while he was daydreaming? Was it the desire to come back to the USA that hard? Childish visions. Bang, bang, bang as time fled. In Florence, the 9 p.m. hypnotizing bell chimes and hymns from the many enchanting churches and chapels start playing a familiar and typical entertaining sound that echoes throughout all of the city's narrow streets and alleyways walls. Florence was the perfect city for Julian because it was screaming history like no other place in the world. In Tuscany, existed the Medici that was one of the most influential and powerful families of the whole region, country and the world. From its worldly enforced political, economic and religious lifestyle, the Medici family were responsible for one of Europe's most unique charms, the greatness of Florence that was built on the shoulders of giants, genius and skilled artists, famous mastermind builders like Botticelli, Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Galileo and Donatello, just to name a few that reached unparalleled artistic and cultural statements. The Medici was responsible for one of the most incomparable accomplishments and life status ever. In the European Renaissance period, it was mostly about wealth and power, and all across the world, they sparked their greatness with their biggest vital and cultural artistic revolution ever imagined. From the medieval ages up to the great European Renaissance era, the Medici family's legacy is one of the longest and wealthiest periods ever built in the world. However, like with all Catholic elite wars, the revolutions come forth, and with their so much desirable wealth and power practices, it comes always a biggest price to pay, and after a long sublime 300 years of reigning, the Medici family ceased to exist. Many desirable similar trends can still be traced today all over the world by many other great leaders that also initiated and followed the Medici's tragic and faithful ending. The enormous Republic presence in Rome and in Florence that have many cultural and artistic lessons playing an everyday important role in Julian's personal life were also the most valuable history lessons he could have ever asked for. All of the history that he learned about education, politics or religion definitely still reveal our world's intriguing present. From Tuscany's great empire, many economic and civil secrets are drawn, many lessons are taught. Julian's political and religious beliefs that were always questioned since a very young age still remain questioned today more than ever. The European Renaissance period, especially in Florence, explain why the world's civic and economic capabilities have been strongly compromised, an era based on fraudulent activities that still shape our world today, and in the long future to come, if nothing is ever changed, more faithful tragedies will occur, and in the future, more generations will keep suffering having no real idea of why we humans live this way. Mr. Nacca is Julian's father, one successful old master dealer working at MoMA's museum in New York. He started working there in his early life, even before he graduated from Nassau's Community College in Garden City, New York. He's also responsible for the way Julian sees life. He shared much knowledge with his son since he was a very little kid. Great lessons Julian was taught. He learned lessons about art, history, philosophy, economy, and even theology. Julian always wanted to travel the world and to learn about new cultures. This was so much more important to him than knowing a god or knowing man's sins. On Julian's mind, theology was trapping humans' evolution in fairy tales, and in man's greed or the so-called the daily market muses, as Mr. Matola used to refer to it, will it eventually shape all of humanity's future and fuel the world towards its dynamic progressive success. A concern every fool should realize every day. For no reason, blind is the man that doesn't pursue a better education in life for his descendant. Wise words for a man that is an art dealer and could not travel much to see all of his desired world sights. Julian, on the other hand, had already traveled to see a few more countries than his parents. He was still counting on visiting many other sites, but for now he was engaged in work and had to restore a damaged machine from Leonardo da Vinci's museum in Florence, the paragliding machine that was affected by last year's flood storm. It was Julian's last restoration project before he could travel to New York, but Julian was also now trapped in Alicia's realm. You are brilliant, however there's wisdom that is concealed from you. The information you are bound to learn will overturn the set-up complexity of things.